Okay. Hello there. Um, Mostly to people that might be watching this afterwards, but is it Donata? Elaine? Um, got a couple of people that I was just trying a different time slot. We normally are doing 5 p.m. Eastern, and so we're just seeing if this is a better time slot. Hey, Muddy. Good morning. Um, so we'll see what happens, but it was really just a query as to whether there's some other people out there that would like to have a different time slot that's not 5 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon, Eastern, and so we can see if this is a good one for people. So there is a place to post questions on the dashboard that you just came through. It says ask a question. If you have a particular question, and so we'll hang around for a while and see what people have. Um, cool. We've got a couple here. Muddy's put a couple in. You put them in earlier, Muddy. That's it. It's a good question. All right, so we'll start off with a Muddy's got a question here, just saying about. Oh, let me get the order right. Okay, so questions can be put on the dashboard you just came through. There's a place you can. It says ask questions. So I can give you a little link if you're might be a bit hard on the phone, perhaps. If it's easier, particularly because there's not many of us, if it's easier just to put it in the chat, you can do that. We can make that work, Angela. Now, Muddy's got a question about adding attendees manually when there is a high level integration. I have team members I want to add manually and include special tags. Since they're not coming from high level integration, I want to make sure they won't be deleted when the integration refreshes. Have what's been your experience with that? I have a theory, but
Well, I haven't had this happen yet. I want to make sure it doesn't happen. And the reason I ask is because I know that with all of the integrations, the idea is that if you add this special event tag, then they will be brought in as an attendee. And if
mhm.
you delete that special tag from them in the CRM, the idea is that they will be removed as an attendee. And so my question is really about the relationship between that integration and
Mm.
things I add manually. So if I add a couple of team members, are they, next time it refreshes, they're not in the CRM system, or some of them may be, but they don't have the event tag in the CRM system. I don't want them to be removed. In addition, if I add a handful of tags to them in Obvio, and they do exist as a contact record in the CRM, is the integration going to bring that handful of additional tags back into the CRM? So what I think, and I added a handful of attendees last night, and I've given it time to refresh, and it seems like the people that are coming in through the integration happens regularly, and the people I've added still stay in as attendees without issue.
Mhm.
Um, I I asked the question. I submitted the question last night, and as you've said, you can submit questions anytime. So I submitted
Mm.
it when I was thinking about it,
Yeah, it's
knowing
good.
we had a call coming up, and then I thought, well, let me just test it because no real harm. So I put it in and tested it. It seems like they can both coexist just fine.
Yeah, yeah. So I think what's important to get right in our thinking is where the what the flow is of the integration. And so the integration is always coming from that third party. When an action is happened there, then something happens in Obvio. And what there isn't is there with high level particularly is there is nothing that says clear all attendees or go through now and delete all attendees that aren't in there. It's more of an individual basis that says this tag has changed on this attendee, so now remove them from Obvio, right? And so unless there was an action that caused an attendee that happened to have the same name as the one that you did manually, it's going to be using the unique identifier of the email. It's going to say this email needs to be removed because that tag's now being removed. Now, if that never happens, and particularly if that attendee doesn't exist in your integration, then it will never get removed, and that will just continue to stay because there isn't a function that's saying these are the attendees now, remove everyone else that's not there. It's always an individual. These are ones that have come through. These are the new ones to add. These are the ones that have just changed, so remove them. Does that make sense? Good, sweet. And I think there was a follow-up. How are attendees sorted? In the past, they were sorted chronologically from when they were added to the event, and now it appears they're sorted alphabetically by email address. It would be great to be able to choose the sort between alpha by name, email, creation date. Yeah, good point. The way that the attendee view list has changed quite a bit over the few years, as you would have noticed. And part of that was because it with large events, it crawled to a halt as it was trying to load. And so there's been several iterations of how we now display that. And so then because of that, we have to do a manual, some sort of sorting in order to display it correctly. So yeah, I agree with you about sorting would be helpful. The search is there, the filter is there. Like there's a couple of things there now. Searching and filtering is not sorting. I get it, but I will make a note of the request because it could be quite handy. So I
Well,
will.
and am I right in my observation that the sort is by the key field, which is email? So it's being sorted by email address.
Yeah. Yes, I believe it is now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, and yes, because it's the key identifier for the listing. It made more sense for it to have some sort of sorting than nothing or chronologically, but that
Yeah.
becomes a problem too. So
Yeah, chronologically didn't really make sense long term. I mean, it was just the
right.
default. So yeah,
Hmm.
okay, that makes sense. And I certainly for larger events, the most important thing is that it loads well and it functions, quickly. So yeah,
Hmm.
there are other search tools that make it easy to find people. I was just kind of curious what the thinking
Yeah.
was. So cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's a good point. You're welcome. All right, we've got questions from the dashboard. There's a ask a question on the dashboard, and I'm just going to track some of the chat there as well. So let's have a little look here. And I'm particularly interested. I'm seeing a few names that we haven't seen on the calls in recent times, and that was the hope that this time slot might be better for some people. And so that's what I was hoping, particularly some people that might be in yeah, different countries. So now we're just going to go to the form. We often have um, Heather James helping us do the questions, but she's away at the moment, and so I'm running solo. So all right, that one covered. All right, I'm going to come back to Angela's comment. I feel a bit challenged by Obvio. What are the absolute basics to use Obvio for a person just getting started in Obvio? I will eventually hire help, but wanted to check before I go with Zoom. Okay. Yeah, great, Angela. Yeah, there's a couple of videos that we've just done recently about or they're still a little bit longer form, but just stepping through the basics of what you need just to get Obvio going. I think what's helpful to think of is what the advantages are of Obvio, right? And sometimes we think about what's the advantages of using Obvio over just running a normal Zoom, and you're sending out the links to everyone. Because if we work from that angle, then we can see the what is the basic requirement to get an event going. So I think of Obvio as a home for your event for before, during, and after the event happens. And particularly the longer the event is, I think the more important that becomes because of the time in between sessions or days becomes that sort of downtime and opens up all of those opportunities before each day starts or before a session starts. You've got a dashboard to be accessing. So that would mean then if you're doing a webinar, style event for an hour, something like that, perhaps Obvio is not the best. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not used to great effect with those style of events. But I believe where it comes into its own and where we have really focused on, uh, the ideal sort of event for Obvio is a 3-day event, and so that's where all of our extra features and functions have sort of come from for a 3-day event. So there's that. That means that in order for us thinking about some of the features of Obvio, we're thinking we need to get people in, we need to get our attendee list into Obvio so that they can, ideally, they get a link, a unique magic link that takes them straight to the dashboard. They click a button that takes them straight into Zoom. None of that requires a password. None of it needs any logging in. Don't have to log into Zoom. You don't have to log into Obvio. We know who you are, so we've sent you your link, and you're now able to get in. And so, like your experience today, is that you were able to click the link from the email. It took you straight to the dashboard. You click the link, you got into Zoom. Now, when you came into Zoom, your name is, I'm assuming, is accurate, Angela. And so now that's a big advantage, right? Because you send a link out as standard Zoom link out to everyone, you're going to get all sorts of random names that come into Zoom, right? iPhone and computer names and like, oh, sorry, this is my husband's account. It's not my name. All that happens all the time, right? Whereas, and that can still happen a little bit with Obvio, but very rarely. Generally, the registration has been tied, the right name has been tied to the right email. The right email has got the right link that's being sent. And now you've got the right person that's coming through. And so thinking about that, we've got to get our attendee list in. We need to send that out to them somehow. We need to have set up a Zoom a Zoom area so that we know that our meeting is set. And we need a button on the dashboard, and that's it, right? So they're the kind of basic steps. Now, so once we do all of that, then of course everything expands out from there, right? And I think that's probably where it comes overwhelming, is where it's like there's 300 different features that I can do. Just tell me what I have to do, not just what I can do. What are the absolute requirements? We have all of those, different check in, a tech check, and the sign the waiver, before people get to the dashboard. But if you don't need any of that, then really, I can step through just a couple of things if that would be helpful, and just to show what it would be, just basic. I did this a while back, and this is one of those things that Blue did a little walkthrough just a couple of weeks ago, and he showed more uh, in the design side, like how to get the design, making it work okay. Um, the developer sort of in me is thinking more just the functionality, like how does the button work? How do you get into Zoom? Right? What are the absolute basics? So let me just get an organization here. So do this one. And I can share. I'll share my screen and I'll just show you. So now what I'm doing is I've essentially gone to app.obb.io. Just going to do a couple of things here. I'll be sharing for a little while, so I'll make sure I can see a few things here. Get my chat open. There it is. All right. There we go. Not all of us are high tech yet. Fair enough. Hey, Muddy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as you're getting this set up, I've heard you describe Obvio solving several problems. One of them is getting your attendees into Zoom. One of them is getting you into Zoom. And then one is providing all of the other things that make it an experience, which is the dashboard and the other kind of features, as opposed to just a Zoom meeting. So it was just kind of giving
Thank
that
you.
framework as you get set up.
Yeah, that is helpful. And this is the thing, is that people are going into Zoom meetings. Lots of people are going to Zoom meetings multiple times a day, right? And so, do we want just another standard business meeting? Okay, where's the Zoom link? Yeah, click that, go in. Okay, here we are in another boring, business meeting. Well, it's like, how do we have a different experience right from the start? The link is different. The dashboard is, oh yeah, this is a different experience. And so that I think that's helpful. So I was in my organization settings. I basically just went to app.obb.io. I logged in. It showed me organizations. Organizations are a group of unlimited events. You can have as many events as you want in an organization. And so I went to my organization and I hit the button that said new event, and that came to this page. What do I want to call the event? This unique URL has caught a couple of people out recently. Is it saying that's the name that you want? It will be the address that people are going to for Obvio, not anything that you already have, but this is what's going to be created for you. So I've called it Test Event Monday. The time zone is simply anything that refers to time when you're entering times in on the dashboard, things like that, will be based on this time zone. So it becomes the event time zone. It's very handy to be able to lock down an event time zone, particularly when your team might be spread across different time zones. And so I'm constantly doing that. And so we always refer to what is the event time zone, and that's what we're going to stay in. And so that can be whatever time zone you like. The start and end times are specifically about when you would be using Zoom. And this is just the window of when using Zoom. And it doesn't need to be strict, right? It doesn't need to be down to the minute. Generally, we would say if you're doing an event on Tuesday to Thursday, let's put the start time on Monday and Friday. We make it nice and wide, make sure that Zoom's going to work fine for us. That's the only thing that date refers to, that window. So what that means is the dashboard is always accessible while you have a subscription with Obvio, an active subscription. The dashboards will work. All your old events, upcoming events. If people have a link to it, they'll be able to see the dashboard. That's been very handy. I've ran quite a few events where we've made the recording available and we've put it back on the dashboard, and that's how people access the recording. They come back to the dashboard, and that's where they see it. And that could be 6 months later, because I know that will still be available to them. So that's what start and end times. I'm going to just leave that. Am I going to leave that? Yeah, that's fine. Expected number of attendees also is just an indicator to us. If you put in 1,000, 5,000 something, then that can flag in the system about how many virtual seats we're going to put out for you and make sure that's all okay. I'm not going to go into all the details on everything, right? This is where I get stuck sometimes, as I explain every bit of thing, every bit of the details and everything, and then it becomes a 40-minute 40-minute tutorial. So I'm just going to show you the things that are important. All right. So that's all we needed to do. And so that created this test event Monday. So this is my organization. I see a bunch of events in here. This is the new one that I created. I'm going to click on that. And it's now going to ask me, what theme would you like for your dashboard? And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different themes. I encourage you, because you can have unlimited events, I encourage you to create a test event for each one of these different themes and play around with it and decide on which one you like the most. If in doubt, I tend to go with classic. Classics is the first one that we've created. It's probably the easiest. Muddy.
Would you also mention one of the things that the Obvio team has done with these templates is allowing an event to be created with data as opposed to a blank event? And I want to know if you just kind of touch on that, because early on, and especially when testing these different templates, it can be really, really helpful to see that.
Yes, there is an option there to have some dummy data or test data to be put into that test event, so that if you're creating them, then you can sort of see roughly what it looks like with the same sort of data, meaning that it has a blog post, it has a logo, it has some background images, it's got something to look at, versus what I've just done now, which is I've created a blank event using the classic template. So what I'm going to show is the absolute basics of what you would need to get the event working. So what we need first, you could do these things in a different order, but basically we need to make sure that we have a Zoom area. A Zoom area is a collection of Zoom meetings. Obvio works particularly well. It always is meeting. It's not using Zoom webinar. Zoom meeting is always where you can have everyone's cameras on and you can see the whole audience. And that's a real priority for us. Obvio is built to be scalable, which means it can go beyond just 1,000, a Zoom meeting that has 1,000. It can go beyond that and be multiples and lots of rooms or different Zoom meetings that, from an attendee point of view, can be managed. There's some more production that needs to be used about how you get your audio and video into each one of those meetings, but we're not talking about that today. So we're going to create an area, and I'm just going to call this main stage. And those default settings are completely fine. And that's gone ahead and it's created one Zoom meeting for us. So we already have a Zoom meeting and we have an area. So what happens now is I'm now going to go back to the dashboard, design dashboard, and I'm going to create a button for that meeting. So this is main stage. Not doing anything fancy. I'm going to put a little icon there to make it look slightly fancy. And now where I'm going, I want it to join an area. And I've already created one called main stage. So that's where that button's going to go. So I save that. I've now got a button. So, of course, you can do lots of styling and do all sorts of stuff, but I've now got a button on the dashboard. If we now think about, I want to get my attendees in, there are a few different ways of getting attendees in. You can manually enter it, this is what I'm going to do now. I can manually, one by one, in Obvio, add your attendees. Another way is to import it using a spreadsheet, a CSV file, which would just simply have first name, last name, email. 3 columns is all you need to be able to get people imported into Obvio. And then other ways are with integrations. So it gets more complicated. We're talking about services. So see all these different CRMs, services can be connected to Obvio, so that if you're using one of those, all of them work in the same concept where you have a contact record in this system that they've signed up or they've paid or whatever it was, the process that sends that data, just the first name, last name, email, through to Obvio, and Obvio returns the magic link, the login URL, back to the CRM to store that. And now that's how you can send your emails out. But we're not doing that. All we're doing is we're going to create a user here.
And Grant, as you're doing that, there's one other way to bring attendees in if you have them in a list, is you can import them in a spreadsheet, CSV spreadsheet.
Were you not listening? Were you not listening, Muddy?
I didn't hear that, but what I was listening for is the order: first name, last name, email in the spreadsheet.
Said that
is
too.
the important thing.
And Angela's my witness.
I will keep myself muted then.
I appreciate it. I would prefer that you have done that and be wrong, that I had already said it, than for you to not say it at all. Let's make that clear. Because that was one of the few times that I had already said it. I like having Muddy as the safety net of what I'm forgetting. All right. So now that I've created this attendee, that's gone ahead and created the login URL. So that's already set up. And this is what we want to get to our attendees. So in this example, I can actually click this and open that link. It just opens it in a new tab, and we can see what the experience is for that attendee. Hang on, let's go back for here for a second. I've been meaning to, Muddy, I'm going to make this note, is to make password off by default. But it's not at the moment, so I'm going to show you. That is that. Oops. That is that in our check-in process here, which is what happens before people get to the dashboard, there is the ability to set a password. I'm going to just disable that, and so that doesn't happen. You can set up a waiver, and we've got some complex things that we can do with forms and collecting data and all sorts of things with before people get to the dashboard, and also the tech check. And I was just checking that they're all disabled, because what I want is I just want it to go straight to the dashboard. So if I look at this one again and I open that, it's caught now, because I went to this page before. It wouldn't happen for a new attendee. Just going to double check that. Yeah. Okay. So there we are. An amazing looking dashboard. Just really, really impressive. But it is logged in. When we look at this, I can see that I'm logged in as Homer Simpson. That's exactly the thing. And this is the clicking this main stage button will take me into Zoom, unless, of course, the host hasn't started it yet. And now it's going to come to an offline page. And all of this is customizable, but this is another thing is we prefer to have this highly customizable offline page rather than a waiting room or waiting for hosts to start meeting, right? Which is what people are used to seeing in Zoom, whereas we can control this. So that's the offline page. So that's exactly not thinking about design and whatever at the moment, just thinking functionality. How do this would work, right? So further to this would be, depending on if you had another system that you're using for sending emails out, or a CRM, a list management system of some description. If you didn't have any of that, you had an event you want 20 people to come to, you can bring them, either manually enter them here, which would be pretty quick, or do the import, the CSV import. You could then come to communications. Now, we would need to ensure that a couple of things. You need to ensure that in the organization settings that we have, if I go to, here, 1 second. This is not mine. That's right, it's not mine. Yeah, so as an owner of the organization, you'll have organization settings, and that's where you would put in an email address for where you want to send emails from. So it's technically the reply to email, right? So you would set up an email address. I think we'll have one set here. Yeah, we do. So we've got a couple of different emails that we've put in, and so we can choose to send an email from this from that address. We put in a name for the email, which is just for your reference. So any sort of organizational name that helps, and this could just be Sometimes I do. First email. When do you want the email to go out? So remembering again that this is in the event time zone. That just keeps it really simple. I'm going to go, just going to do whatever we want for fun right now. Now we've got the subject, your event dashboard, whatever it is that you want to. Okay. And then we can say, hello, first name. Here is your link. Come and join me. Now we can put the link in just like that. We can put the link dashboard link in here. And we can say I want it to be the login link. That just now made that link like that. And the last one we can do is we could make it a button if we wanted to. So what do we want the button? Dashboard link. We call it dashboard, but it can be called whatever you want, event home or, whatever it is. The dashboard link. And then what is the actual link? I want it to be, I'm not seeing that there. I want it to be that login link. And that is now a button in your email that goes for the dashboard. Now, this tells me that one attendee matches the given criteria, which is you can filter. So it's a much more of an advanced level move, but essentially a checked in user is someone that's been to the dashboard. They've been there at least once. Not checked in, they've never been to the dashboard. So by doing this, I can choose to customize the email based on that filter. So maybe the 5 minutes into the event, even you could schedule another email to go out to the people that are not checked in yet and say, hey, we're missing you. We've already started. We'd love to see you, whatever. And so that's the example there. Now, a little trap for young players is you want to not have it in draft, but put it in publish. Not have it as let's just go on this one. And now you'll see this email appear here. It's listed there. It's published, ready to go. Hasn't sent yet because it's in the future. And that'll send an individual email to each one of those people with their unique link. And that's one thing to note. Sometimes we write that in the emails. This is your link. Please don't use it. Please don't send this on to your friends. This is just for you. And so that is the basis of what you need. You've now got an event. Let me just now say that's all sort of pre-event. We come to the day itself and you need to start. Yeah, go Marty.
On the communication, super helpful to be able to send email reminders about the event right from Obvio, because it already has the contact attendees in there. It already has their login URLs that you can pull in. One thing to note is that between the start date and the end date of your event, basically during your event, you can send up to 3 messages per person. So you can send reminders if you take a lunch break. Hey, we're getting started again, come on back. So for a 3-day event, that can be helpful just to know that you can send up to 3 messages per person through the event.
Thank you, mate. So now it comes to the day of, and you need to actually start the event. So we're going to come back into Zoom. We'll go to the main stage. we're going to take it online. I think I haven't got this in the right time. Oh yeah, right. So we're gonna make it online, and then we're gonna hit start. When we hit start, that's going to open Zoom. That's going to open Zoom, and you are the host. You didn't have to log in. Nothing special. You're the host. What you do need to watch for here is open area. So what this does, this is, think of that kind of like waiting room, right? While this is closed like this, your attendees will continue to get the offline message. When you turn this to on, they will now get assigned to the room. They'll be able to go straight through to the room. So the nice thing about that is 2 hours before your event starts, start Zoom. Like get there, make sure it's all working, everything's all fine. You get any other guests and things that you've got, and get all settled. You're all happy. Now you toggle this open area, and now people can come through. So, and the way that offline page works is that it will automatically forward them to Zoom when it opens. And so even if they sat on that page, they don't have to refresh. It'll just take them into Zoom once it opens. So that's the basics. And there's so much more, obviously, about different team members and things like that. But that gets you going. And we've recommended this too for people to just find some reason, some sort of meeting that you can have friends and family. We've had people organizing vacations and all sorts using Zoom, using Obvio, to test this whole idea. So I've got 10 people that I need to have in this meeting. I want to use Obvio for it so I can test the whole thing. It's not a real event, and that's a great way to do it. Start just to play around with it. And so I encourage you to come up with reasons why you can use Obvio for certain things, remembering that you have unlimited events. You can have as at any one time on a pro account. Any one time you can have 5 Zoom meetings going at the same time, and you can have up to 500 attendees in your event, and so you just go for it. I'll just make sure I haven't missed anything in the chat there. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So you'll see in this meeting that we're doing that it's live streaming to YouTube. The only reason I do that is that it makes the replays super quick and easy to access. And so you'll see on the dashboard you just came through, there's a playlist of all of these recordings. And this one will actually already be there as the most recent. And so you can just go back to the dashboard, and there it'll be, and you can scrub through really easy and find the bit that you want. Skip past me and get to whenever Muddy talks, and then you'll know that's what you'll be right. And great, thank you, Angela. You have to go. I'm glad we got that in for you. It's good to see you. All right, I'm going to go back, and we've got a few others that have joined, which is good. Nice to see everyone. We've got a few different names that we haven't seen for a little while, and with this time slot seems to have attracted a few other people, which is great. I'm just going to have a look now at the questions that were posted.
One of the questions I saw in the chat come through was about upsell and marketplace. And so marketplace is a place where you can sell tickets to your event. Eventually, there'll be an upsell feature, and it is accidentally showing already. But I asked Blue about it the other day, and he said it shouldn't be showing yet. But you may want to talk a little bit more about that.
That's right. It was like your upsell feature is showing. you might want to hide that away. Yeah, so it's being worked on at the moment, and so marketplace is coming along really, really well. It still is in beta, and so we're just cautioning. It still is a request as well. If you want marketplace, you need to have that enabled on your account to play around with that. But it's really a quite an in-depth way of selling tickets to your event. But we really wanted to create the option for people to be able to upsell. And upsell could be that you have free attendees and you want to sell them to be VIP, or it could just be an upsell from general admission is $100 and VIP is $200 or something. You can upsell to the $200. So we're just working through that at the moment, but that's coming along well. And so yeah, I think if it's showing in there at the moment, it should disappear shortly because we're just talking about it today. So, but it's an exciting feature that we're looking at. Hey Jeffrey, you just joined. It's good to see you. You got a little question or big question?
Yes. Thanks a lot, Grant. And I'm new to Obvio and new to the LEAP program, so I'm learning my way through this. And so over the weekend, I did do my organization, and I created an event, and it's to be sort of the simulated event, but it's the kind of model where I want to go. But I kind of did everything that I thought I could, and I apparently don't know a lot more about how to edit it. And I was wondering if I could share my screen and then just take a look at that with you. Okay, thanks. All right, I'm doing that. Okay, so I'm on my iPad here, which is often I do the computer, but let me just do this and look into here. Okay, so here's Obvio coming up, and I have it here. There's the icon for that. Okay, so
sorry, we haven't got that yet. Not seeing
you don't
your
see
screen
it?
yet.
Okay.
No.
Okay, I thought I had shared it. Let me just go back then. All right, share screen. It says, oh, it seems to got the little wheel turning there.
Thinking about it.
Yeah, it says on my part stop broadcast, but it should be working. No, you don't see it?
No.
Okay. All right.
No, I could bring it up here, and I can share it back, and we can do it that way.
Okay. Sure. All right.
Let me see.
So I should stop sharing then?
Yeah.
Okay, I stopped my broadcast. Okay, got that.
It's not. That wasn't. I don't think it was sharing. Yeah, that's right. It's funny. Weren't seeing that. All right. So EQ Odyssey, is that the
correct? Link? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so I have it on my computer here as well, so I'll kind of mirror what it might do on there.
I can share. What part were you kind of thinking about? Was it the dashboard that you're playing around
with? Okay,
well,
that's a good place to start because I wanted to. Okay, so if I go to, let's see. All right, so if I go to the event and I go to check-in, like, where do I get the dashboard again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, design and dashboard.
All right. Okay. Design. Okay. I'll go up to event and design. Okay. Great. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So here I had. Okay. So there's the wheel on the right hand side up there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then it says like header, background, and page background. So I had uploaded images yesterday and nothing appeared.
Okay.
Okay. So I can go here, I can do it on mine and maybe it'll refresh over there as well. So if I go back here to what I might want to put in it, so I'll just put something here. Okay, just to, and then I go like this. This is not what I was going to use, but now
right.
it did. Okay, now I see it. It did come up on my. Maybe if you
Okay.
refresh on your, but
Yeah.
that's
So what
okay.
it'll be is that you uploaded.
Yeah, I just did that now. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the style here, in the
Yeah.
styling, so there was settings and then style.
Mhm.
There's the opacity, and it may have been set too low, that it wasn't actually showing. It wasn't showing the background at all.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so same with it
So if I
here
go to
too.
style, okay, and then
Yeah,
I
style and play around
it
with
does,
the opacity,
it
which
does
is
say
kind of
minimum.
the
Okay.
transparency.
Yeah. Right. And then I do save on that. Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. So I do see that.
There you go.
Okay. So,
Yep.
oh, that's the same thing. Okay. So, I mean, that's what I'm looking to do is to be able to kind of build it out. I mean, I've seen other people come on and they have some really elaborate sites, and I'm just working my way through this. So, is there one of the videos that would be good that'll kind of really go into
Yeah.
all of? Okay, we're going to
Yeah.
find that.
There's a couple. Well, there's the really in-depth ones, which are the onboarding videos. They're much longer, but that's Blue stepping through every aspect of Obvio.
Yeah.
If it, and so so let me get you those links here quickly. So that was on the dashboard that you came in for this event. There's a button there called onboarding videos.
Okay. Okay. So you mean, for this event?
Workshop
Right.
recordings. Sorry, it's called. Yeah.
Workshop recordings. Yeah.
Yep. And so, but I'm going to put it in the Zoom chat here for you, just so you have it.
Are they going to be the ones with blue with? Oh, thanks. Let me just pull it up then. Okay.
Yep. So that's that one. But the other one I'll give you is, let me see. It was just a couple of weeks ago that Blue did another little walkthrough, just sort of a basic walkthrough of from starting from nothing to getting a dashboard sort of going, and goes into some detail there. And so let me just get that one for you.
And then you said okay, that's the onboarding one with blue. Is there one that like just kind of gets right down into the design and how to, how to
Yes.
really kind of build?
Yeah. So yes, there is. I'm going to give you this one as well, though. This is the call that we had, and Blue just stepped through. You have to just scrub through this video a little bit, but you'll find when Blue is sharing his screen. And I think it probably goes for about 20-25 minutes, something like that. And it's mostly design.
Great. Okay. Well,
Okay.
that's a good start.
Yeah. So you can do that. The workshop recordings.
Just the second. Okay. Got that one. Yeah.
The workshop recordings, that first link I gave you, is with Searchy. It's on the Searchy platform, which enables you to type in and search the transcript across all of those videos, and can kind of jump you through to, if you put in dashboard, things like that, it'll show you.
Okay.
And so you could probably skip through a couple of the videos and get to sort of the meat of the design, and then ideally, like you've got two different devices you've got there, you could have the video playing on one and you could be playing around on the other,
Right.
and really work it through. So
yeah. Well, that's great. A question about Muddy. I see Muddy on the call, and it seems to kind of know his stuff. Okay, so he's not too muddy about that. That's for sure. But is there sort of like if I get to a point where there's some like one-on-one kind of help that could be available? Is that a little bit of Muddy's role, or how might that work?
Yeah. So you're in Leap, and so one of the things with Leap is that you can have an event set up for you. Your first one can be set up for you, and so that's kind of part of the deal. As far as there are a few people, and Muddy is definitely one of them, that can be sort of contracted to work on a one-on-one basis, and sort of there's opportunities there to have assistance in that way. We do these calls every week, and doing 2 this week, to try to sort of bridge the gap between things as people are playing around with things. That's what we offer. But yes, there is the ability. There's a few people that can offer their services to people to get things up and racing, and to help you run your event as well. So that's one of the things that, particularly as your event scales and you have quite a few people that have quite a lot of attendees, then you might want assistance with the production aspect of that. And there's a few, and so I do that as well. So Blue and I both have event companies that we run events, and so I run events as well for some Obvio users, and then Blue does as well on a bigger scale, particularly based around studios. When you have people come to a studio and do it from there. We're actually in the process at the moment of building out the marketing website. We don't have a website at the moment. We're 4 years in, and we've got all these users, and we've got all these thousands of events that have been ran on Obvio, and we haven't got a website. So we're getting that sorted. One of the pages on that will be a listing of people that can offer assistance that could help you in different ways. Design might be one of them, and then also production assistance could be another. So,
well, that's terrific to know. That gives a lot of confidence as we kind of start through here and feel okay. Here we go.
That's great.
So that would be really terrific. That's a real great thing to know. A good peace of mind for that, knowing that there's that available on the production and also on the building side. Okay, so that's great. Now, so I, in the meantime, I want to kind of like do the self work so that I'm if I get with anybody, I'm kind of like not just like doing the stuff that's readily available. So I do want to kind of have some guidance on, just getting through it like this. So I thank you very much, and I will look at those videos and take it from there. And I guess we'll see you again on Friday. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, So these calls are Wednesday. So we do
Wednesday, right? Wednesday, yeah, right.
Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, is the regular one. And this was just a test, just to see whether this time slot worked for people, and it seems to have similar sort of numbers as we get on a Wednesday. So, so that's the thing. Thanks, Muddy.
Right. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you, Jeffrey. All right, I'm just making sure. Sometimes we're managing questions that have come through, as well as hands raised, as well as chats. So I'll just double check the questions here for a second. Make sure. Go forms. Okay, no, we're all good there. Is it Donata? Donata? Is that how you say it?
Oh, because what is Donetta?
Donata.
Yes, thank you.
Hey there.
I'm new, and so once you explain, I kind of see the concept of it. But is there any way to attend someone free event to actually see how it works from the customer side?
Yes. Well, you are right now. So what we're doing right now is not doing anything special. This is exactly just using Obvio as it's intended. So you're an attendee. You received an email that I sent from Obvio. You clicked the link. You came into that. You saw the dashboard. You clicked the link. You came into Zoom. So that was your experience. My experience was I logged into the admin of Obvio. I went to the Zoom areas, main stage, clicked the start button, and I came in as the host. So so exactly what you have just experienced in what we're doing right now is exactly what you can do for your events. There's no trickery in this particular one. Does that make sense?
Okay. All right. Yes. Well, I didn't come in that way because someone had, my event planner had shared it with me so that way I can get on the call. So I didn't
Okay.
come through the regular way. So that's the reason why when you was talking about dashboard, I'm thinking like, what dashboard? So
Okay.
yeah.
So when you got how you got into Zoom,
Mhm.
you had to click a button to get into Zoom, correct? Do
Right.
you saw that? So if I show you, uh, I'll show you this. Stand by 1 second. Here. So I'm looking at this in the editor, but this is what you must have seen in order to get in here. So this is the dashboard, and then you clicked the button that said join the Q&A call. Okay. So that's what we're talking about. That's the dashboard there. Clicking the button, that opened Zoom, and then we're talking. That's how we
Okay.
got here. Okay.
All right.
So
Thank you.
that is the whole experience.
Okay.
And so that's really the key to understanding what Obvio is doing is creating that space, that page, that home for your event before, during, and after your event, because that page lives on when Zoom is not open. That page is there, and you can put all sorts of content on there, and so it becomes that place that launches Zoom. It secures Zoom as well. So even in this meeting that we have right now, people are familiar. You can go to the green shield at the top, and you can share the link. You could share this Zoom link directly with everyone. But what happens is when people follow that link, they get to a Zoom registration page. They fill out that registration, and then it says it's waiting for manual approval, which means they can't enter this event. They can't enter the Zoom meeting unless they come through the dashboard. And so that's why we can host events where people are charging thousands of dollars, literally thousands of dollars for their events. And we can be confident that it's secure because of the way that the process that they get into Zoom. It is that they have to come through the dashboard. They can't get into it any other way. And also we can, the default is that people can't join Zoom from multiple devices. Meaning if you were to share your dashboard link with other friends and you're in Zoom, they won't be able to get into Zoom because you are already in there. It's only allowing one person to be joined for each one of those attendees. Now we have an option to disable that, and sometimes there's use cases where people need that, but that's the default is to not allow multiple devices for the same person. And so that's the experience. That's what you're seeing right now, is exactly what an attendee would experience. When we end this call, we would go. You could go back and see the dashboard, and you'll see some links in there, and you see the recordings from the previous meetings and things like that. That dashboard is what you can create, and as I said, nothing on this particular dashboard is customized or only for us. All of those features are available to you as an Obvio user.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So then I'd encourage you with those walkthrough videos as well, that I shared in the chat, because that starts to sort of step through more of it. But I do think the general understanding of what Obvio is doing is really helpful. And then you'll start to see that there's more and more and more advanced features as we've grown over the years, and we've needed it for some of the events that we've ran, and the people are doing so. Great. Hey, Scott. Haven't seen you for a while. Oh, you're muted there. Still muted.
Hang on a sec here.
There we go. Got you there.
Yeah, got me there. Thank you. Too many buttons in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. Wednesdays, just feedback. Wednesdays are a long day. I start at 7 a.m. And so
Right.
I don't often make the Wednesday call. So you got me today, and that's probably a workout for me. Yeah, it's been fun. Couple things. I've used Obvio now, a couple of webinars. Still evaluating. And I'll ask you, actually, I'll start with that. I'm evaluating whether the straight ahead webinar or people are having success doing a webinar via Obvio, and if conversions are good or equal. Have you heard anything about that?
So there's some. It depends on how the webinar is ran. So let me give you an example. Blue and Barry have been experimenting with different webinar strategies. They have, for the last virtual event on virtual events that they did, they were doing an evergreen system for webinar, and were using Obvio for it. And by evergreen, I'm sure you know, but is that the first one was recorded live, and then we're able to use that recording and repeat the webinar experience for multiple times a day over the course of a couple of weeks. And there was some heavy customization that went into Obvio to handle that. And they were fine tuning. Blue was really working on what is the optimal amount of time before the next one starts, things like that. And so that's an evergreen approach. You're not going to sit and do live webinars every 2 hours, right? So
yeah.
We've seen that work well. We've seen webinar. I think that any time that you can see your attendees is going to be more engaging. Now, so a typical webinar where you can't see and they can't turn on their cameras, and it's basically a live stream, I think is lacking. That doesn't mean that there's not a lot of highly successful conversions from those sorts of webinars. I totally have seen that. But what my experience has been is that when people see other people engaging, they are more engaged. Yeah. And so even as I can see, 5 faces and me 6 at the moment, and this feels more engaging to me than just sitting, with a camera and just talking to text messages and things, right? And so being able to take live questions, being able to see people, be able to see their reactions, see if you're losing people, all of that I think is far more engaging. And so therefore, Obvio, which uses uses Zoom Meeting, is a great option for that, because it's already using Zoom Meeting. So it's
Yeah.
definitely possible.
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it. I've done the evergreen. I've been experimenting a lot now. I've been using the standard, talk to the audience chat kind of thing recently, and I've done evergreen as well. Evergreen has to be obviously really tweaked to get it to work on a regular basis. But a comment. I actually, this is just to share something with you because I'm leaning toward going with Obvio to do my webinars, and the reason I am is because back in March I did a launch and messed up everything. If there was anything I could mess up, I messed it up, and we still got 100 people on the call.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. I guess some of your tech support was feeling the wrath of me for about 2 hours before it, but anyway, now I threw together the presentation in 2 hours, including the offer, everything in 2 hours, and just said, let's do it. I ended up with about 17% conversion. Pretty good for Obvio. Pretty good for anything, right?
Yeah.
So then I spent a month creating a regular webinar with the chat and worked everything and just tweaked it like crazy and went live with it and ended up with 13%. So when I think about it, I'm thinking, okay, the thing that saved me was a live engagement. That's what it was, because I could pick up between what I was doing and it really worked well. And I wrestled with it a little bit because of the lack of focus, the inability to focus sometimes with all the people looking at you when you're trying to do things. So I'm working through that. But anyway, my question was really just if you had heard anything. That's been my experience, that I actually think the engagement pulled me through. And I can always automate that just on my own. There's all kinds of software to do that. Okay, cool.
Yep. No, I totally agree. And that there are different strategies. The thing that was interesting that blew, I think the evergreen process was interesting, I think, because it still felt live, and because it was recorded live, then it's capturing that sort of engagement that happens. There's an integration that we have with a third party that can actually join the Zoom meeting, join an Obvio Zoom meeting, and play back the videos and sort of all scheduled, and so it can do all that all automatically. So there's some pretty cool systems out there now to be able to handle all of that.
Where do I find out about that stuff? That sounds fun.
Yeah, I've got to remember the system. We can find out. You can actually, if you send an email to help@obv.io, we can give you the details on it. It's not cheap.
I'll ask about that.
It's not cheap, but of course it's automated, and it means you're not doing it yourself. So
yeah, you know what? I wasted so much money on everything else. I don't care.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
I just don't. I mean, I try anything for a couple months to see if I get it to work,
Yeah.
That's been the issue. And so, yeah, it's my gut instinct is because I know we have to tweak out webinars. You got to tweak out the sales pitch. You got to tweak all that to get it right.
Yeah.
That just takes time. And I get that. And I'm willing to do that. But like I said, what I just told you, that difference of conversion.
Yeah.
And I stayed up. I cannot tell you how fast I wrote that presentation and cannot tell you how fast I slapped the offer together. And I was right to within 15 minutes of the start before I finished. And I've done this a few times before, which is probably the only reason I was able to do it.
Right.
And we still sold stuff.
Yeah.
And by the way, I did twice in one day, and that was on 11 a.m. and that's where everything was sold. And I did 7 p.m. thinking, let me get my people that are not at work, that aren't going to schedule an appointment. They're home now. Didn't close anything.
Yeah.
So it's when they take time during the day to show up, they're serious.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting way off here.
No, it's all good stuff, and we're all sort of comparing notes on those things, but we've doubled down. I mean, we did right from the start on having video, having cameras on, having interaction and engagement, being able to do breakout rooms and things like that. All of that was really important to us, and so now with the introduction of the marketplace and being able to sell tickets, all of that I think is really kind of it continues to strengthen the product, we think, because we're just building tools that we want to use ourselves. So.
Sure. I don't have Marketplace. I guess I have to request that, right?
Yeah, it's still in beta, and so we've just been careful on that because people get really excited and they're going public with it,
Yeah.
and we get a bit nervous about that, right?
No,
So.
I get it. I'm a good beta guy. I'll help you find your
Okay.
problems.
All right, great.
I'll break
Well,
it faster than you can. Trust me.
you're welcome to you're welcome to request that through the
Um,
email there. So.
couple of short questions. The I have Keep Infusionsoft,
Hmm.
one of the original ones.
Mhm.
If I have any issue with what I've been doing, it's the import time, and I'm bringing people off opt-ins and things like that, and then letting Avio do its thing.
Mhm.
Really wide variance of time in terms of it. It seems to work eventually. It seems to get there eventually, but that stops me in an upsell upgrade process during the course of an event because I don't know how
Hmm.
fast it's going to happen. Is this common, or is there a way to speed things up to get it to move along?
Yeah. Uh, so it just expand on why it would stop you on the upgrade. You meaning that you want that you need that so that they get access to something immediately on Ovio? Is
Yeah,
that
kind of. Yeah, use case, something I've done in the past. I've sold, the immediate action kind of thing. I've sold
Mhm.
into VIP groups, and I said, listen, you join right now, and in 15 minutes, we're going to go live on a mastermind call, your very first one. And I
Mhm.
find that drives people in pretty quick when we do that. And thinking Avio, I can just put them in another room and switch to the room or something. That's what I was thinking I could do.
Mhm.
Don't even know if I could do that because I didn't get that far. But I can't trust the tag update would happen fast enough to make that happen.
Mhm. uh so Blue and Barry is still using Keep um for the TVE event, and have done exactly that sort of upgrade process.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, particularly within that sort of time frame of it updating the tags, we haven't had a major problem with that.
Okay.
And so we've been able to see certain things appear once they've bought something. They might have bought a VIP package, and then the buttons appear in Obvio.
Okay.
So
I'll
yeah,
te- all right.
it could be
I'll
worth
test
playing
it.
around with it. Yeah, playing around with it again and just
Yeah.
seeing what your experience is with how fast that tag sync is happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
Oh,
should be
by the way,
useful for that type of process.
I don't think it's just you guys. I think that Keep's going through a lot right now, and
Right,
I know they're doing their API thing, and it's not unusual. In fact, I've got reminders every week to check those connections, and
right.
because I know they just break them and they don't tell you, and then they fix them, and so it might
Well,
not be you.
look, it is one of the reasons that we're building our own upgrade process into the marketplace, right? So
Sure.
you want to go from a free ticket to a paid, or from a paid to a VIP or something like that. We're building that in ourselves, so then we can control that process. As soon as
Yeah.
that payment has happened, then bang, whatever needs to happen on the dashboard does.
Right.
That can be another Zoom area, like you're saying, that goes into a
Right.
mastermind, or it could be some resources that suddenly become available, and links and PDFs and things that come available
Sure.
on the dashboard. So
Yeah. I mean,
uh,
obviously, that's going to be the best way to go because you've got control of that. Any of these, and
yeah,
it's a dance to get all these integrations to work with the timing right.
it is.
Um,
Yeah, it's getting the sequence right sometimes, and yeah, exactly.
yeah. I deal with that every day.
Right.
Okay, I'll test that a little bit and see what I can come up with here.
Yeah.
And what else did I have? Nothing else. I don't think so. Oh, I do have. If anybody wants one, I've got an ATEM Extreme ISO that I'm not using right now. If
All
anybody
right.
needs one,
There you go.
let me know. And
There you go.
otherwise, yeah, I think. Oh, last comment. Um, big value is the recording quality we're getting off the Enterprise Edition that comes in Avio.
Mhm.
Big value. And because I've tried the cloud recording in my personal room, and it is hit or miss depending on what I get. And
Right.
I just don't know what it's going to be. But I do 2 calls a week. on Obvio, and they're about an hour and 15-minute call every single week. And gosh, really fast, I get these things back, and it's just a no-brainer. It's HD all the time, and they're like, "How do you get this so good?" So thank you for that. That works really well.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad. Yeah,
All right.
it is one of the things that we had to push for. It's not just because we're on enterprise, but it was a special request to have full HD video, and so that's enabled account wide. We have it working, so yeah, I'm glad
Can I bend your ear for one more?
One more, go for it.
Okay, I think I've solved it, but I'm just curious. I've had issues with the blurry screen issue. Going into now I switched over to Ecamm. I'm running that, and I'm not getting that issue anymore. I was having it before. Or other when you go into, if you're not just sharing a screen, you're going through the camera into Zoom. Are people still getting that blurry screen stuff?
So, so you're saying not screen sharing, but sharing into camera?
Yeah, yeah. And I don't have my thing turned on right now. But yes, if I'm running graphics through this same feed.
No. So only time that might happen, and I can do it now. So you're seeing that through my camera input now. That should be looking sharp. So the only time that you might find is if no one is requesting HD, then it may not be sending it. And by that I mean it needs someone to have it either sort of full screen or to be large enough, more than 720 pixels high, to go up to 1080, so that it flicks out of 360 and goes into 1080. And that means that someone's requesting it. Now, what can happen, and if we look at this, we might only be sending in 720. The trick that happens with Zoom is that it will only, the whole meeting. Yeah, so we're in 1080. So I'm sending and receiving 1080. I'm getting 1080 from you, Scott, and I'm sending it back in 1080. What happens is if everyone was in gallery view and small, no one's requesting 1080, which means that it will be at a lower res. So a way around that is to spotlight. When you spotlight, it forces everyone out of gallery view and into speaker view. And inevitably that, makes it more full screen, and away it goes. So, so that's one aspect. The other thing is that the computer needs to be able to handle encoding 1080. And so depending on the computer, if it's not, it needs to be multi-core. If it can't handle that, then it won't be able to send 1080. And so then down the camera, it could go blurry.
And I think I can handle. I got a Mac Studio.
It'd be fine.
Pretty well. So how do you know you're sending 1080, by the way?
Yeah, so just in the settings, in Zoom settings, and you can get to that, from a few places, but you go, you'll see statistics down the side.
There you go.
On the left. Yeah, and then go across to video, and then that's going to tell you what are you sending and what are you receiving, the frame rate. Yeah, and so you'll get an idea there.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm sending 1080, but I'm not getting it back. So bad boy.
There you go.
Okay, interesting. Nice little hack there. That makes a lot of sense. Because I've noticed a real inconsistency. I couldn't quite figure it out. Because normally I'm running, borders and things like that.
Yeah, right.
Bringing that kind of thing up, or Keynote and all this.
So the camera, the camera will prioritize frame rate. The screen share prioritizes resolution. right? So, and so it's worth remembering that when you do a screen share and it says optimized for video, all it's doing is lowering the resolution and increasing the frame rate so that it doesn't look stilted.
Okay.
So that's the difference. Now, that's often why we send all of our content down the camera feed, is that we want 30 frames a second at 1080. So then the other thing that'll throw it is when people join from mobile devices, and the mobile device is not capable of doing 1080, it'll change the whole meeting to 720.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Wow.
so Zoom, you can't have 720 and 1080. It's going to be one or the other. And if a device can't handle 1080, then it's going to go down to 720. And on all of our large events, that's what happens. It goes to 720 because inevitably someone's on a device that can't handle full 1080.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can't. Yeah. There's no way. But that's okay though. I mean, that's not blurry. It's just not as pretty as it could be.
It's still
yeah, it's okay.
It's still way better than 360, and 360 is the standard. So,
all right.
Yeah,
well, so the fix is spotlight. Force it.
Yeah, I'd play around with that and see if you see a change, because I think you probably would.
I've been doing that recently. The calls have grown to the point that we used to just kind of do the gallery thing and just kind of interact with people. But they've gotten to make the call more engaging, and to handle a larger group of people. Spotlighting and bringing people on and off the screen has become the game now. So I'm kind of in that mode all the time, and that's working well. It's a lot of clarity there. So I didn't think it was you guys. I thought it was Zoom. So
yeah,
trying to figure it out.
Well, and the multi-speaker view now is a nice cross between active speaker and gallery, so you can have both. And so it's what I'm looking at now. And so I can see gallery at the bottom, but I can make it nice and big. And I'm seeing you quite large. And so that's a good mix. I think
it is a mix.
Yeah.
I keep telling everybody on the call, I said, we should get together and just play with Zoom for an hour and just figure it all out. But I need about 10 of you. Just to mess with it, because
if you're interested in that, there is a group of people called the Zoom Test Kitchen. I don't know if you've come across them, but they meet every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern and do exactly what you just said. And so it's a group of people just playing around. Every time there's a new release that Zoom does, they'll go through line by line and they'll test out all the new features. And there's a great guy, David Paskin, is the guy that runs that, and I'm big fans of theirs. They do great work. The Zoom Test Kitchen, that's what it's called.
I'm gonna go find him. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've kind of doubled down on this. I think I've seen like expressed already what I've seen, and my gut's telling me that okay, this is with AI and everything that's going on right now. People on the screen talking back and forth has got huge value to it. Huge value.
It definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, I've taken up enough of your time, but I do appreciate you taking the time with me and clarifying all this stuff.
No, I'm glad it worked out, Scott. You confirmed my suspicion, and that is that not everyone can make the 5 o'clock, the 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, and so
I left my gym. I finally got myself to the gym every single day at 6:30 in the morning. I've been being a really good boy because I'm getting old. I don't want that to happen, so I'm trying to reverse it. And
fair enough.
And I left today for you. I came home for you. I did.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No worries. All right. I'll just check. Andy, hey there.
Quick question, Grant. I think for me, that Monday calls idea, it's fantastic. It's like a good way to start a week and get connected. So I've been doing e-com production for a while. Now I'm really using Obvio for running all my company meetings and really curating a group of people for what I'm going to be doing probably next year. So networking and seeing people face to face is absolutely fantastic. So I agree. My question is, and maybe this is my issue. So I run it on a Mac, and with when the Obvio is turned on a Zoom, I don't have access to like a native Zoom apps, and that connection, is it something on my end, or is that restricted? So like running the timer or running some small apps on a Zoom.
Yeah, it is. It's nothing on your end. The issue that we have is that you're not logged into Zoom, right? So in order to be able to enable Zoom apps and to have guest mode sort of working with everyone else, it needs you to be logged into the account that is hosting the meeting. Now, we're looking at different options. Zoom's not really making that easy for us because their intention, really is to just have everyone logged into Zoom and away it goes, right? But what we really appreciate about where we're at with Obvio is that neither the hosts nor the attendees need to be logged into Zoom. They don't need to be logged into anything, you can start that link. I mean, you're logged into Obvio, but you start the link and it opens and you're the host in Zoom and away you go. Where that falls over is with apps, and that you can't start an app because it needs to be logged in and needs to have that app approved, that whole process. So we did some testing, and we actually had an app that we got working on an event just recently. And so it was possible, but it required dedicating accounts, Zoom accounts, and having people log into those. And that becomes a bit of a security problem for us that we're sort of working through. So at this stage, the other thing that happens for us as well is the scalability of what we're doing. And the moment that we go from one Zoom meeting to 10 Zoom meetings, and we have 5,000 people in the event, it becomes unmanageable even to think about how would you synchronize all of those Zoom apps. And so what that does, and it's not an excuse, it's just where our thinking is, right? Because we're thinking about if it works big, it works small. And so what we tend to do is try to externalize those apps. If we need people to be doing something, then we do that separately from Zoom. That way they're all engaging in that, no matter what Zoom meeting they're in. So if they're in one of the 10 different Zoom meetings, but they have something that's showing up on the dashboard, or they're getting, some form they're filling out, or a poll, or something, whatever it is, they're all going to this central location rather than the one instance of that Zoom app within that meeting. So that's part of the thinking that's in there as well. So
I do understand that. I've been in systems my whole life, so layering and then adding complications, it would be a mess. So I do appreciate the cleanness of that solution, because it's easy when it's not easy when you're working with so many like third parties and getting that integration. So yeah, that makes sense. Thanks a lot. That was exactly what I needed.
Yeah, cool. I mean, look, I would say that I've been working on trying to get the Obvio dashboard as an app, as a Zoom app, right? Into just in our Zoom experience, right? So that you could at least have a window pane that was of the Obvio dashboard, and that would be the best of both worlds, because we can do whatever we want on the dashboard and yet have it within Zoom. That's kind of an ideal, but we just keep hitting a brick wall on the host, the host setup. So yeah.
Alrighty, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. It's good to see you. I will wrap up soon. I said that we'd do an hour, and it's been great. We've had lots of questions, but so that's a little warning. But if there is some other ones there, I think Elaine. Yeah, Elaine, I think you're just asking about a tech assistant. It is something that we are yeah, I was saying, talking about it before, that building a list of different people that can be approached for assistance. So all I can recommend at the moment is to go on the Facebook group. Are you on the Facebook group, Elaine? You can't unmute. You're trying to unmute. So,
Okay. Hi, Grant.
there you go.
Yes,
Hi.
I have been. I'm kind of getting back into things. So my
Great.
question is really focused on being able to get somebody locally. I'm in Maryland. So
Okay.
in order for me to run what I need to run, which I've got a few things coming up in the future, I want to be able to identify someone who's got some of the basic skills where they could help to run the meeting. I understand the setup, I understand how everything works, but I need somebody who can be here as
in person with you. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So I said it's pretty simple, but but I don't want to waste a lot of time trying out some folks. If you're gonna hire somebody who's starting up in your local area, what would you recommend?
Yeah. So there's a few groups online. There's a few different ways that I'd go about it. I've got a couple of groups that I would reach out to.
Okay.
There's some of the more general approaches I would have would be some theaters and schools, even sort of high schools in that sort of area, and the AV clubs kind of area. That's one approach, but the AV kind of world, there's actually a bunch of people connected into churches that have been doing a lot of AV gear, and are highly skilled in that area. So it's kind of just getting on to the right people. Some of the AV production companies, so event production companies, every hotel, every hotel has AV production companies. And that's a network of people as well, sort of these freelancing guys that are looking to do that sort of work. AV freelancers is sort of a term that you could use, and so as in audio video AV. When you were to search that, you might find some Facebook groups are particularly good. I don't use Facebook for anything other than groups now, because it still is where a lot of people are. And I have found different groups that are sort of crew or freelancers, or production freelancers or things like that. And you're able to post a link in there, post a comment in there, and suddenly you get people asking, contacting you and asking details about it. So, so that's probably where I would look, specifically for in-person help. There's lots of remote help, there's and we can help you with that, but I get the idea of just having someone with you and able to help you in your setup.
Right. Because again, my folks would be on the group or the interactions or whatever I'm trying to achieve, not on the background tech, in terms of the setup and those kinds of things. The creative part, I'm pretty familiar with that, but I do want to be able to get someone who can, assist here on this, on the spot. That would be my primary thing. So the things that you just recommended are pretty helpful. So I'll start with that. And if I get stuck, then I know where to find you.
That's right.
Okay. The other thing, I like this Monday morning time.
Okay.
I'm definitely weighing in. I
hear.
find it's really a challenge in the evening, in the middle of the week, to be able to really, focus on things. So if you're looking for votes, you got my vote on Monday morning.
Okay,
thank you.
Good to hear.
All right.
Great. Thank you. Good to see you. Hey, John, I saw you just did comment about the new plans for Obvio. So let me be honest with you. I took an I copied an old email that went out and realized after it went out that it said about new plans. So it depends on how you I recognize your name. You've been around for some time, but the new plans are only new probably 18 months ago. Was about when they were new, but really the big change that we had with plans then was actually just around going unlimited events, unlimited duration, unlimited events, um, and that's really where the big change was. So if you knew about that, then there is no new plans. It was just in my email that was inaccurate. Sorry to tease you with that. All right. Anyone else? Any other questions there? It's great to see you all. It is a different group of people than we have on a Wednesday afternoon. So I don't think I can promise every week on a Monday, but potentially every 2 weeks we could do that. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Well, thank you, everyone. If you joined later, this is being live streamed to YouTube just for the recording. And so if you went back to the dashboard that you came through, this video is sitting in a playlist, and you can scrub back through it, and you can hear, what you missed, and also all of the Wednesday recordings are all there as well. And so if you miss one, you could go back over those. If you're having trouble sleeping, you can just put that on, and that'll listen to my voice. It'll just drift off. It's great to see you all. So just remember, help@obv.io is the email you can send to get support anytime. And then if you are available, we are still doing this Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Will be another one of these calls, and so you can join us then. And at this point, I'll plan to do another Monday morning in 2 weeks' time. So you can check out the emails then. Great. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Grant. Bye.